Yo, we're back here and we're discussing the compartments of body fluid in this video here. So there's really two main subsections or divisions of body fluid. There's intracellular fluid and extracellular fluid. So intracellular fluid, aka ICF, consists of 2/3 of the body's compartment, of the compartments of body fluid, where the extracellular fluid is responsible for 1/3 of the compartments of body fluid, or the amount of body fluid in each compartment. So the ICF is 2/3 of body fluid, where the ECF is 1/3 of body fluid. So the ECF is actually divided into a few more subdivisions. So just recap: ICF, the intracellular fluid, consists of 2/3 of the body's fluids, where the extracellular fluid consists of 1/3 of the body fluids, or the fluids in the body. However, with this extracellular fluid, there's 3 different subsections of this 1/3. So of this 1/3, 4/5 of this 1/3 are interstitial fluid, 1/5 of this 1/3 are intravascular fluid, and then less than 1% of this 1/3 of extracellular fluid is transcellular fluid. So the 4/5 of the 1/3, the interstitial fluid, is fluid that's found between cells of tissue. So between cells of tissue consists of most of the extracellular fluid. 4/5 of the 1/3, that's the interstitial fluid. And then there's also the intravascular, so not intervascular, intravascular portion of the extracellular fluid consists of 1/5 of this 1/3. So there's 1/5 of this 1/3 is fluid in vessels. So fluid in blood, plasma, or in fluid in lymph as well too. So any fluid in the vessels is considered intravascular fluid. And then last but certainly not least, less than 1% of this 1/3 of extracellular fluid is transcellular fluid. So transcellular fluid, less than 1% of the 1/3 of the ECF is and examples of transcellular fluid are serous fluid, cerebrospinal fluid, synovial fluid, and those are just 3 examples of there. But that interstitial fluid, we'll just recap all the way through. So of the compartments of body fluid, 2/3 of the fluid in the body are intracellular fluid, 1/3 are extracellular fluid. Of this 1/3, 4/5 of the 1/3 is interstitial fluid, 1/5 of the 1/3 is intravascular, 1/5 of the 1/3 is intravascular fluid. And then I was getting ahead of myself, then less than 1% of the 1/3 of extracellular fluid is transcellular fluid, which consists of serous fluid, synovial fluid, and cerebrospinal fluid. So when the right amount of fluid is also in the right compartments, it's called the fluid balance of the body. So if everything's in the correct compartments, in the correct amounts, the body's fluids are balanced. So if there's too much fluid, it can lead to bursting cells. Too little can lead to deflated cells, which neither are good. So we need that 2/3 of the fluid to be intracellular fluid, 1/3 of the fluid in the body to be extracellular fluid, and obviously the 4/5 of the 1/3 to be interstitial, the 1/5 of the 1/3 to be intravascular, and then the less than 1% of the 1/3 to be the transcellular fluid. So fluid balance is, once again, keeping all the fluids in the body in the correct compartments and the correct percentages. If not, say if there's too much fluid, excess fluid in the interstitial space there, that's called edema. You might know it as swelling, but edema is the proper word for too much fluid in the interstitial space. So those are the compartments of body fluids. Once again, intracellular fluid, 2/3. Extracellular fluid, 1/3 of that 1/3, 4/5 is interstitial fluid, 1/5 of the 1/3 of extracellular fluid is intravascular fluid, which is fluid in vessels. Transcellular fluid is less than 1% of that 1/3. That's serous fluid, synovial fluid, and cerebrospinal fluid. But there it is. 2/3 ICF, 1/3 ECF, interstitial 4/5. Then we got the intravascular, 1/5, less than 1% is the transcellular. Bada bang, bada boom. If you have too much fluid in the interstitial space, you got it. That's edema. EDEMA.